I forgot to record. I think it is very important to understand that cooking is more important than writing recipes when someone needs to be evaluated in terms of being a chef, right? So in your situation, most of you have read or written recipes more than you've been cooking. And therefore, sometimes I will use examples that are very much personal life experiences. And they resonate with people that have had the personal life experiences much more than with the people that didn't. So sometimes I am misunderstood. I use a lot of examples which don't come from a book, but they come from my own experience. You will see I've worked in various capacities. Some are lower level, some are very high level. And I think it's all levels are good, because it's not good to work at high level if you don't understand low level. And I think if you want to go higher level and you are low level, you need to understand high level, because even as an employee, you're working within a system and you need to understand the entire system. I remember when I worked for a company called Arthur Andersen. So Arthur Andersen is a company that disappeared, even though that was one of the largest business in the world. It disappeared essentially overnight. How can you disappear overnight? How could the biggest business disappear overnight? In fact, 20 years ago, if I've asked you which business is your dream business, I would have said maybe a third of the students would have said Arthur Andersen. So now it's irrelevant because it doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist. How can you disappear overnight? What is the one way a business can disappear overnight?
Maybe bad reputation.
Bad reputation, yes. But that doesn't usually make you disappear overnight. But it's sort of related to that.
Going bankrupt?
Going bankrupt, exactly. So they didn't go bankrupt. It's a mixture of going bankrupt and bad reputation, which is that they cheated. If you're an accounting student, it's almost impossible that you've never heard of Arthur Andersen, because that was the biggest consulting firm in the world. And it was like several times bigger than the number 2. So obviously now you've heard of PricewaterhouseCoopers, you've heard of Deloitte. So these are the big one now, but Arthur Andersen, when it existed, these were small compared to Arthur Andersen, which is usually a bad thing when there's one company within an industry that becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point that the number 2 looks small compared to the number 1. How do you call this? That's an American term. It's called a monopoly. Monopoly is not good. And you may not have noticed, but the world that we live in right now is becoming a monopoly. Maybe you know that, maybe you don't. So that's why there's a lot of economical problem. It's not just started since the pandemic. It started before, because before the pandemic, there was a game started in business. And this game is called Monopoly. The same as the game actually you play with your friends, called Monopoly. Anyway, so if you have a concentration of wealth, if you have more and more, less and less businesses having more and more, it becomes not very good. So Arthur Andersen, and I'm not making a class on Arthur Andersen, but this was a really good company. I worked for them, and there was lower people, higher people. And I worked at different level, but what I've noticed is the lower people not understanding what the higher people do. And because I believe I understood what the higher people did, I was promoted very quickly from a lower level to a high level, because what I was doing at a low level was to, 1, satisfy my clients, which is number 1, but 2, satisfy my boss, which there were many. And so if you have this attitude, then you get promoted, you get successful. And I think that is very, very important. So it's like imagine you're working in a kitchen. Who are you satisfying? To use that simple example that I think everybody understands, is you trying to satisfy the client that came to eat in the restaurant, but you're also trying to satisfy your chef, right? Because they are like the conductor of for the music, telling you what to do. So that is very important. And when you work in marketing, that's the mindset. Marketing is about adaptability. How much can you adapt? How much can you fit in? How much can you control the situation, not by so much not so much creating the situation, but using the situation in your advantage. And that's what marketing is so powerful. Marketing is a little bit like sometimes martial arts. Martial arts are very good because they teach you, if you're a short person, you can beat up a big person. Whoa, I like that. So how can you do that? Is you essentially take advantage of a situation in your advantage. So if you look at a sport like judo, not many people understand judo in America, but judo is essentially two people fighting one another. But what happens is there's one that's going to not use their strength to win against the other one, but they're actually going to be using the strength of the opponent. So it's like someone attack you, you use the energy of the person attacking you in order to attack them. So this mentality is very much of a marketing mentality. Marketing mentality is give them what they want. It's like, what? Give them what they want? That's all it is? Yes, it's give them what they want. But before you give them what they want, what do you need to do?
Understand what they want.
Exactly. So that's the first thing. First thing is, how am I good at understanding other people? Am I good at putting my feet in someone else's shoes? Right? Because the big mistake people do is they think that business is about doing what you want. There is sometimes that's what you're doing, but that's over emphasized. Most of the time is you do what other people want. Number two is to satisfy your own needs as a business owner. I'm not saying it never happens, but it's the opposite of what people think. People think it happens 90% of the time, and 10% they don't do what they want. It's the opposite. It's 10% of the time you do what you want, 90% of the time you do what they want. And if you use that simple rule, you will succeed more often. If you use the opposite rule, which is to satisfy your own need, you won't succeed very well, right? So what's important, therefore, is to understand marketing is therefore has the word market inside, and it's essentially ing, which means there's an action. So you're just being active in the market by understanding the market and by doing what you think the market wants you to do. So come on, are you telling us that you never innovate, you never take risks? That's not what I said. I mean, there's more complication, that the simple thing that I'm trying to summarize, but it's very important to understand that it comes from you. You are the impulse. You are the leader. You are the one that makes a decision. If you don't make a decision, nothing happens. So how do you make a decision? It's kind of crazy. There's a lot of things that I will mix in my lecture that will confuse the heck out of you. You're going to think one day I'm an ultra-capitalist. You're going to think one day I'm an ultra-Muslim. You'll think one day I'm an ultra-Catholic. One day you'll think I'm a communist. Because at the end, if all of these exist, all of these trends, all of these positions, they exist, is because there is a need for them. So therefore, everything that you do is to serve the need of someone. There's someone that wants to be a communist. There's someone that wants to be a liberal. There's someone that wants to be, whatever. And so that's what people are doing. They're all looking for an identity. They're all looking for being part of some kind of group. They're all hoping to follow someone. I mean, if you look at social media as something that is done in order to help you, it's not. It's social media was not created because there was an intention to humanize the world. It's like the metaverse. The metaverse that's coming is not something that is created to humanize the world. It's created because there's a business impulse. Everything that happens to us, the way you eat, the way you dress, the music that you listen, the movie that you go to, the seat that you sit on, the chair that you borrowed, the house that you live in, all of this has been pre-programmed to be the way someone is trying to make money out of it. So when you want an answer to something, the answer to something can be multiple. But if you try to find the common denominator of the answer to most questions is money. If the common denominator answer to most question is not money, what is the second most common answer? Power, yeah, someone says power, absolutely. So power is the second most common denominator. Now, what is the third?
Control?
Well, power, control, that's very similar.
Competition, maybe?
Yeah, so someone says fame. Fame is probably correct. Usually it's, it's called prestige. It's recognition. But there's another one that people don't think too much. And if you think down to it, it may be the first.
Status?
The what?
Would it be status?
Yeah, status and prestige, same thing. But there's another one which people don't think
fans, nigga.
is sex. And it's not always, but it's much more than people think. I mean, obviously, if you were to ask someone who is ultra, super famous, like Freud, he will tell you it's always sex. But I don't think it is. Could it be the number one reason? I don't think so. I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't really know because I can't read that deep into people's mind. But the reality is, I think money is safe. Follow the money and you get the answer. So then are you telling me that there's nothing altruistic? So altruism means it's someone that does something just for the fact that they want to satisfy the other person and they expect nothing in return. There is some altruism. I mean, usually the closest altruism that you find, they are your parents, but the true altruism is very rare. Versus understanding, follow the money, that's the most common thing. So right now I sound very sinister and sort of dark, but eventually you understand my position. And so why am I saying this? I'm not being out of subject. I'm saying this because the issue is that if you talk about marketing, you've got to talk about money. You cannot be someone that think about marketing and not worry about money. Why? What is marketing anyway?
Demand and supply.
So demand and supply. So that's true. But that sounds like very much economics. Economics, oftentimes the closest thing that they have to business is this concept of demand and supply and demand.
Would it be catching people's attention?
So catching people's attention, that's true.
Propaganda.
So propaganda.
Advertising?
So yeah, propaganda. What's the difference between propaganda and advertising?
Propaganda is forced, isn't it?
So propaganda, well, first, propaganda has existed for many years, but it has been revealed to the world in World War II. Or actually, sorry, before World War II. So propaganda is probably one of the best books that you can read. It's called Propaganda. It's a book that is 160 pages. It's a book that is written by Edward Bernays. If you were to catch the most famous people in the world and you go in the dark and you say nobody can hear you, tell me what's the best book in the world, they will tell you it's Edward Bernays' Propaganda. It's the best book. You don't need to read anything else. But they won't say that in public because Edward Bernays, he died not too long ago. He lived almost 100 years. And if you I have another class with some MBA students and actually asked them to do a presentation on Bernays. I don't think I've ever met a student that knows Edward Bernays' Propaganda book. But if you ask successful, famous, rich people, they all know about it, which gives you a little bit of a cue on what you should be doing if you want to become rich and famous, successful. But anyway, so that book you can read it in 2 hours. It's very powerful. It's an old book, so maybe that's why people don't read it anymore. It's because it was written a long time ago. Yet then when you find that it was Edward Bernays that wrote the book, and then you do a study on Edward Bernays, and then you go, oh my God. Edward Bernays is probably one of, if not the most powerful writer of the past 100 years. He was very key in World War I to organize people of public opinion for joining in World War I. So you may not know, but World War I was in Europe. It was not in America. And the Americans didn't want to go do World War I for a good reason. They had nothing to do with it. You know, if you have nothing to do with it, why would you go to do the war? So then they needed to create a propaganda for people to feel good about going to do the war in Europe, which was very far away and all this. And so they went to Europe and they did the war. So that's why the Americans didn't start at the beginning of the war, because they had no reason to do it, really. And so Edward Bernays was brought in. He was brought in for so many things. He was brought in to sell soup. He was brought in to make women smoke cigarettes. A woman didn't smoke cigarettes because there was no reason for them to smoke cigarettes. And he was brought in and he created a marketing propaganda in order to convince women to smoke. So all of these things, you can find them in 20 seconds on a thing called wikipedia.com if you're interested. And otherwise, you can read the books. And like I said, I bet you if you ask Barack Obama what's his favorite book, he'll tell you it's Edward Bernays' Propaganda, or anyone of these people that became president. It's super good. It was used by the government, the US government, for 50, 70 years in order to create all kinds of things that they needed the public to want. And so he's known by all the consulting firm, you know, if you're consultant for anyone, McKinsey and all that, you have to know about this. And it's something that rarely the professor tell you to read. I won't say why, you know, but that's what happens. And so very interesting. So propaganda and advertising is advertising is a paid form of communication. So someone is paying, and who is paying is very clearly stated. Nike is showing an athlete using Nike shoes, and they're showing you that this athlete is very happy with the shoes. And it's a short video or whatever, or it's an ad in a magazine, or it's a banner, or it's whatever. That's advertising. Propaganda is a wider concept, which thinks about not just advertising, but it thinks about public relations. It thinks about social media. It thinks about product sponsoring, product endorsement. So it's a broader, but it's also the question of understanding people biases. People have biases. So there is a little bit of a negative twist to propaganda in the sense that you want to manipulate people. Advertising is you essentially sell what you have to sell. So there's a bias because there's a conflict of interest. Propaganda, I would say the conflict of interest is even broader because you psychologically manipulate. So it's even deeper. It's an even more conniving way of going about it. But you know, it would be, if we go back to martial arts. I mean, if you go on YouTube and you put martial arts, there's some people, they are very strong and very brutal, and they beat people up. And then you have some other people, they are just gifted and very skilled, and they're really good at reading their opponent. These people don't have to hit so hard. They don't have to hit so much. They just get it done in 2 seconds. I don't know if you ever watch, I don't know, MMA, for example, fights. So you see this MMA fight, this person is all muscular, and all he does is he throws as many punches and as strong as possible. Versus you have this person, they grab their arm, they go on the floor, and they just do a locking key and the fight is finished in 2 seconds. There's no blood, there's no tears. There's just a lock, a stupid arm lock that lasts 30 seconds. And the fight, I mean, it's not really entertaining because if you actually went to the fight, you don't want a fight that lasts 20 seconds, right? I mean, who wants to go to a fight for it to last 20 seconds? If it's 10 rounds, you paid for 10 rounds. But there's some people, they're very efficient. The game is over in 20 seconds, just a stupid arm lock or knee lock or whatever. And so that's what I'm trying to tell you. Propaganda is much deeper understanding of people's mind. And not only people's mind, but it's group thinking. They really understand the concept of how people think in groups, how you can manipulate public opinion by telling them things and having certain people say things in order for them to believe it is true. Okay, so it's very, very interesting. Marketing is propaganda. Advertising is marketing is advertising. So what else? I heard someone. Go ahead.
Well, you're saying MMA, and like, you know, everyone knows Conor McGregor, and he gets extra crazy when he has a fight because people know they want to watch Conor McGregor fight because he gets super crazy. That's kind of like, it's kind of like marketing as well, right?
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, marketing is not thinking inside the box. So it's like, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? In and out. What are we going to drink? Coca-Cola. What are we going to have tomorrow for dinner? In and out. What are we going to drink? Coca-Cola. What about the third day? What are we going to eat? A burger. And then what are we going to drink? Pepsi. Can't you think out of the box? Oh, out of the box. Okay, so tomorrow for dinner, we're going to have a wild animal that's been run by a car. Ooh, that's interesting. You know, side road kill. Oh yeah, that's what we're gonna have for dinner? Great. I know it doesn't sound good, but the thing is, when you ask people what do they want, they say cook, cook, cook. They've been programmed. They don't think out of the box. Nobody goes, oh, what do you want to drink? I want to drink a pineapple with some lime and some mango and some guava. No, what do you want to drink? Cook, cook. I'm programmed, I'm a robot. Cook, cook. Okay, Diet Coke. So that's what marketing does. Marketing is about, therefore, programming people and then thinking about how you can actually strike people with a new blow, something out of the box, in order to program them towards something else. So then you're going to say, professor, isn't that fashion? Yeah, fashion. That's what fashion does. Fashion is not like art for the most part. It's not something that comes in an organic way. That's what you want people to believe, that everything is organic, that everything is natural. It comes from the way that there's someone that conceptualizes something that's going to get more money because it's going to get more attention, more interest. It's going to sound better. When you sell things, you should sell things that are better, but it's more important that you sell things that are perceived better. People perception is more important than the reality of the quality of what you sell. So what you do is you focus on people perception, right? So it's like selling a powerful car. The fact that it's powerful is sort of irrelevant. More important that people perceive it's more powerful. So if someone is going fast, they can look at how fast they're going, but it's much better how they feel. So everything is about the people's feelings, people's sensations, people evaluation. So when you're in marketing, that's what you do. Is not only you identify what people want to evaluate, but then you also evaluate on how they evaluate, because it's not important that it's the true better product. It needs to be perceived as being better. So now you're going to say, Professor, the more I hear you, the more I'm starting to wonder if you're a little bit of a dirty person, because you keep telling us about that authenticity is, it seems that you look down on authenticity. No, I don't. What I do is I say that authenticity is in the eyes of the person who's buying. You know, if they go to Las Vegas and they go to the Bellagio Hotel and they think they're in Italy, let them think. It doesn't matter. If they went there because they say, oh, Italy is too far, I'm going to go to Bellagio, and that's like going to Italy, perfect, right? And then they run across the street and they go to Paris, Las Vegas, and they think that they saw the Eiffel Tower for real, perfect. That's their authenticity. And therefore, when you're in marketing, you nurture this concept that is true authenticity is not in the eye of the expert. True authenticity is in the eyes of the buyer.
I have a question.
Yes.
So like the product basically doesn't matter as long as the consumer perceives it to, I don't know, like be better in their eyes. I'm trying to.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's extremely important because I'm going to tell you something that is very condescending. I mean, looking down on consumers, but most of the time consumers don't know how to evaluate things. Consumers, I give you an example. All right, let's go back to the chef. Remember the cooking on the chef? You take vanilla, okay? Then you say, okay, I'm gonna make vanilla from the best vanilla beans. So then you go, where are the best vanilla beans? And then you find that they are in Madagascar, they are in Mozambique, they are in Zimbabwe, you know? So then you fly to, I don't know, I guess you fly maybe to Paris, and then from Paris, you fly to South Africa, and then from South Africa, you fly to Zimbabwe, Tanzania, or whatever. And then you take a boat, you go to Madagascar, or you go there and you look at for all the vanilla beans. Then you find lots of different quality of vanilla beans, even in Madagascar. You're blown away. You go in Madagascar and you ask for all the producer of vanilla beans in Madagascar, and then you find that there's 50 qualities of vanilla beans. You were going to stay there 5 days. Now you could say, I'm going to stay there 2 weeks in order to learn these 50 qualities. You go and they tell you, oh, you see this little bitterness and you see this little taste, and you see that's the true vanilla bean. It was produced by hand, it was made like this, and it was picked up at the right date, and they didn't take it when it was too green and all this. It was slowly crushed and all this, you know. 3 weeks after, you've had the best vanilla beans in the world, and you're just amazed. Now you go back to a big city. I don't want to say to go back to America because you're going to think I'm making fun of Americans. So you go back to a big city, London, Tokyo, any big city. And then you go, I found these vanilla beans at the top of a mountain. You have to take 5 hours of taxi, and then you have to walk 6 hours in the jungle, and then you get to this perfect farm for the vanilla beans. These are the best ones. All the people that know about vanilla beans eventually, after my research, that's where I ended up. It's the best vanilla beans. Then you take these, and then you say, I'm going to give it to people to see if they like it. Then someone stops you and says, no, wait. So to make sure that they know about vanilla beans, you're going to give them your vanilla beans, the best one. And then we're going to go to a 99-cent store. And we're going to buy an expired vanilla. Okay, like probably these people get sick with this. And then we're going to go to a store and buy the $2 vanilla. And that way we have a test, the gold standard vanilla bean, the get you sick vanilla bean, and the mass-produced vanilla bean. Then you take 100 people in your big city, big community of people that just buy and leave, buy and leave, buy and leave. You give them the vanilla bean, and then you find out that there's 10% that like one, 10% 10% that says this one is absolutely disgusting, and then 90% that like another one. I didn't tell you which one it is, but then you find out that there's 10% that actually found which one it was expired and disgusting, and it was more like a, recycled oil, from a tractor. And 10% only find this. 10% told you that there was one that was absolutely fantastic, the best vanilla they've ever had. And 90% that told you that the mass produced was very good. So then you go, what do I want to do? I want to make some money. I don't want to be on the side. What am I going to sell? The one that only 10% figure out that it's really good, or the 90% that everybody said it was really good? So then you go, I need to understand, why do most people prefer the factory chemical made mass produced vanilla bean, and so few people like the super high quality vanilla bean? I wasted my time. What should I do? Tell me, what should I do? Now you're facing a marketing situation. And what would the marketing situation tell you? What should you do, therefore?
Give people what they want.
Give people what they want. That's what I just said. But then you said, you know what, let me go back and look at the data, because I know who are the people tasting. I know how many women, I know how many men, I know how many old people, I know how many educated people, and all of this. And then what do you find? So then you're a little bit obnoxious. You say, I know what you're going to say. The less rich people, the less educated people prefer the mass-produced one. I think you're correct. That's what sort of happened. But then you go, that's kind of interesting, but let me do a test. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 100 chefs of restaurants, which are good and very good. And I'm going to give 100 chefs the 3 vanilla, even for the sake of it. And then what do you find? 99% of them tell you that the disgusting is disgusting, not 10% anymore. And then you have 89% of them that tell you that the really, really good one is really good, to the point that that could have been the best vanilla they've ever had. But remember, they're chef. What do they do all day? Taste, check. They know their stuff. That's all they do. Then you go, wow, how interesting. So if you give it to chef, if you were to sell this vanilla to chef, they probably all want to buy it, maybe 89%. If you gave it to the overall population, 90% would not buy it. Therefore, that would be a pretty bad business. And that's what marketing is about, is to sort this out. Sort this out, but it's more complicated, because what happens is when you give it to the chef test it and say, this is a really good vanilla. It's great. I love it. 89% of them told you that. But then what do they ask you for? What's their next question? It's the question always. How much does it cost? Yes, it's always money. How much does it cost? And then you say, well, it costs 2 times more, 3 times more. And then what does the chef say?
Negotiates it.
Negotiates it, but at the end of, most of them are going to tell you, you know what? I think it's so much better for my own personal consumption. I'm going to buy some for myself. But for my customers, they're not going to pick the difference. I'm going to buy, I can't afford it. If you told me it was 50% more expensive, I would have bought it. But 2 times more expensive, that means 200% more expensive. I'm not going to buy it, because they're never going to see the difference. So therefore, I'm not going to innovate. I am not going to step out of the box. Coke, Coca-Cola. And that's what happens. And that's the decision that you have to take when you're in business, is to step out, to stay in. If you step out, who are you serving? So then you may say, okay, so I'm going to do 2 businesses. Or one business with 2 products. I'm going to have the Super CSUN vanilla, which is the vanilla for the chef, and the restaurants are 4 stars and above. They get it. Their customer get it. They want to see ice cream, vanilla flavored, made with imported Madagascar virgin beans. And those people are in, they can afford it, and they will buy with their eyes. Do they know the quality difference between ice cream made with crap or the vanilla beans from Madagascar virgin beans? They don't, but they can afford it, and they only want the best. So they're just going to get it because, and the crappy vanilla, you're going to sell it, and it's going to be called, it's not going to be called CSUN Gold Premium because you have to change the name. So you're going to call it, Northridge accessible, not, or you'll have to find a name that's a little bit pretentious too, Northridge imported favorite or something like that. And that's the cheaper vanilla. And so that's what you do when you're in marketing, is you worry about your customers. You worry about the products too, but do not think the product is number one. Number one is the customer. What do they want? Because there's all kinds of customers. You have the chef and you have the people that don't have a clue. And therefore, you have to know who you're selling it to. And therefore, you need to know what they want to spend. It's the same thing. It's kind of weird, but if you said to the chef that the vanilla is cheaper than the one that he buys, the fake one, maybe the chef would not buy it because you'd say it can't be true. It's too good to be true. So when you sell something that is better, even if you can sell it the same price, you have to sell it more because they need to be comforted. And they will use the price as an element that comforts the fact that it is better. How could it be better if it's the same price? But if you make it too expensive, or if it's too expensive, then you're changing of customers. So marketing is really about all of these different things. So I threw you in a lot of concepts, but I wanted to do this at the very beginning because a lot of students are used with other professors to get a class which is page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, essentially like reading the textbook, or essentially doing a PowerPoint presentation of the chapters. I think that's fine. I think it's why not? But the problem is, I don't want to be I don't want to be replicated by a robot that will essentially just regurgitate the textbook. I don't want to have a avatar which is going to replace me and eventually just do the class as a simple thing. Is I want you to see that there is a very important understanding of the market in order to be a successful marketing person. There's going to be a lot of structure in this class, but there's also something very important is you need to think. So I need to draw you in my world as possible, as close as possible to in a virtual way, because not only we're not face to face, we don't see each other in person, but we're through this very high technology of being able to communicate the way we are doing. I want you to draw you into the virtual world of putting you in the position where you're thinking, what is this and how do people go and what's the next stage is. It's like business is very much a game. And so you have to understand that. So the class is called Introduction to Marketing Management. The textbook is the one by Cutler and Armstrong. So, that should not be a pass or fail, but some people still don't understand it after 3 classes. That's the book that's the title of the book that I recommend, but I do not recommend specifically to buy the most recent version. The most recent version is going to cost you more than $100. If you look at the other versions, there are some that I would say are so affordable that even the poorest person, hourly wage would allow them to buy the book in the world. The poorest person in the world still could afford it. So let's say you say, oh, can I use the one from 2011? Yeah. So everything from 2011 and after with this title will allow you to get an A in this class. So should you buy the one from 2021? You can. Should you buy the one from 2017? You can. Should you buy the one from 2011? You can. Like I said, 2011 is going to cost you a glass of water. That's expensive. So that would work. Now, let me explain. What is the difference between these books is the examples. In 2011, they didn't talk about the metaverse and Instagram, you know. And in 2011, they talked about Starbucks. Okay, so it's the examples. The examples are essentially what has changed, but the concepts are pretty much the same. What's the other? The other thing is the order of the chapters are slightly different between the different year and the different editions. So that's it's a small thing. I'm not talking about something huge. You know, like consumer behavior in 2011 was chapter 3. In 2017, it was chapter 4. So it takes, I don't know, between 6 seconds and 20 seconds maybe to figure it out. And the difference can be $100. So I don't recommend any specific book. They're all very good since 2011. It's just up to you. All of these will get you an A if you study. Any questions? I'm just checking the chat. Okay, excellent. So as I see that you're discussing this, this is really great. Actually, this semester there's a different, a bit of a different behavior from the students, and I guess it's the way world is changing. So I tell you the two different behavior that I saw that changed between this semester and any of the previous 25-year semester I had before. It's the fact that people have started already making groups. Using the chat and using some external links and all that. And here's what I'm going to say. Congratulations, that's fantastic. It is great to see that people are being proactive. So we see, because you've had to do it before and you're getting to be more comfortable with the virtual format. I'm so excited to see. This is, don't tell anyone, but this is the first time I see that happening on first class, that people are being so proactive. So that's great. Another thing is the number of people that send me emails the past 2 days about seeing the canvas being uploaded. And so I was sort of taken by surprise that people, I've never seen this before. I mean, last semester in fall, I didn't get one email of people before the class asking for canvas, versus this time, I didn't get many, but I got like 5 emails. So it's not huge, but it means people are getting the way to work, and that's wonderful. So I'm very excited to start this semester because I can see that a number of people are proactive, and I'm very sure that this is going to change a lot of things. So do communicate with one another. I see that some people are using Discord and all this to make groups. That's awesome. Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is my email is the best way to communicate with me. Yeah, by far. So send me an email and I do respond much faster. Yes, you can send messages through Canvas as well. So I do look at these messages, but not as often as I look at my email. I look at my email several times a day versus the Canvas, maybe once a day. And sometimes it's once every 2 days because I don't get that many messages through Canvas versus I get all the messages, even the one that you send through Canvas through my email. So it's like a one place, catch is all. And this is very important. I mean, in the way we live now, we have several emails, we have several social media accounts, we have so many passwords and all this. So the catch all are very convenient. And this email is sort of my catch all. So that's why I'm much more favoring if you send me an email, simply, it may sound old fashioned, but the reality is email I've been on for a while, and business people, not just me, will tell you that still is the best way to communicate for the most of the time. Now, you will be graded using multiple ways. One will be participation. There will be 5 random attendance check. I don't know when they are. They will be picked up using the Zoom system to see who's attended the class. And so there's going to be 5 of them. Then there's the community participation. So if you go in the syllabus, and so we could do that as well. Let's go in the syllabus. You should be able to see my screen. There's a section in the syllabus called Packback. So Packback, the good news, it was not that way before. I was the first professor in the College of Business using Packback. And now, and back then, that was 4 years ago, students had to pay for it. But since the textbook was pretty close to zero, I felt not too bad because it was $25, something like this. Now you don't have to pay for it because you're already paying for it. Packback is sort of like Zoom or Canvas. It became so popular that now students are paying and they may not even know. So it's part of your fees. It's a system which is sort of like a Facebook, if you want. It's a Facebook where students are able to post and see each other postings. So I encourage students to use Packback. And like I said, I suppose it's because I'm a marketing professor. I'm oftentimes very connected with new things. And that's why I adopted Zoom 7 years ago. I was the first one in the College of Business and I made a big stink, so it gets used. And then when the pandemic came, they were very happy that the system was set up, so everybody jumped on Zoom. I was the first one using Packback, and now it's becoming a thing that most people are starting to use. So what is it? You have to create an account. And so simply you go to Packback, and it's not .com. It's packback.co. And you don't have to pay. Like I said, it's already paid because it's part of your tuition and fees and all that. So there should be no asking you to pay again. You go in there and then you register using the community lockup key, which is right there. So it's not, it's, like I said, this is my 4th year doing it. And every year there's almost nobody struggling with this anymore because people are getting used to using the internet and subscribing and all that. It's nothing different than what you did today in order to join to Zoom. It's not more complicated than that. You go there, they ask you for the community lockup, you put the community lockup, it's going to say, oh, this is Professor Wigner and the marketing class. You're from CSUN, yes, 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 here you go. You are registered and locked in. Now, all you need to remember is if you have a problem, is you can email the help, which is help@packback.co, and they will sort you out. The other thing is you need to remember that every Sunday, before 11:50 p.m. is you have to do one post and comment on someone else's post. So you know how you do this on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, you post. So here you just post some questions, something that you've noticed. You know, it's like, why are students spending more money in January and February than any other months of the year? I suppose it's because they're going back to school or something like this. But you want to post something that has to do with business, that has to do with marketing, and even better, that has to do with the subject that we may have covered in class. So one post, and then you look at other people posts, and you select two posts where you want to comment on what they said. And now here's the thing is, when you post, not only you will get points for posting and commenting, but you also get points for the quality of your comments and posts. So this is measured by an algorithm. So, you know, an algorithm is like a program, which is a robot that sort of looks at the quality of your posting based on the length, simply the length first, the number of words, the quality of the words and grammar, the construction of the sentence, and it's looking also to see if you put a reference, a source, and things like this. So this computer, you know, artificial intelligence that is used by Backpack has been used for the past 2 years with millions of posts now, because it's me and all the professors in all the universities in all the subjects, because this is not just used for marketing. It's used if you're a professor of finance, it's used if you're a professor of engineering. So they have hundreds of thousands of clients, millions of students. So the computer is really good now at gauging, evaluating if your post is legitimate or if it's just a short sentence that means nothing. And therefore you don't get because there's going to be something like, I don't know the exact number, but here I give you the date on when you need to start. So the when you need to start is we're giving you some time to register. And so you do not, it's not expected that you post anything this week, but there's going to be a third of the students in this class that will be posting this week, and that's great. You should do that. That way you can go register, look at it, and you can start posting. That way you know what you're doing. If you happen to miss some posts in the future, I think it sort of gives you a little bit of compensation for having missed, but essentially there's 10 points and there's like 12, 14 posts or whatever the number is. So it's not 1-to-1 because it's not 10 posts, 10 points. So it's like a 0.70 or something like this. So depending on what you posted, the question that you posted and all that, I think most people do get the 0.70, but if you do something that is really under the minimum quality, then you won't get the 0.70. The algorithm is going to compute something and you get 0.55 or something like this. So 98% of the students are not going to have problem with this. Where students have problems is they forget to post. That's the #1 problem by far, is, gee, I forgot to post. Or I posted 1 questions and 1 comment. I forgot it's 2 comments. You know, and so that's by far the biggest problem, is forgetting. So just don't forget and post. And I will now and then bring to class some of the discussions that you've had in Packback. Anyone else is using Packback in another class?
No, not yet.
Not yet, huh?
Never heard of it.
Okay, so it's not everything takes some time. Like I said, when I started 4 years ago, I was the only one, and now it's embedded in your tuition. And what happens is a lot of professors don't know, so they have to get the professor to know that the students are already paying for it, so that way they can start using it. So do you have any question on Packback?
Professor, so Backpack is just a place to post any questions we have, or what kind of questions we have to post?
Business questions. So what happens is questions.
So is this similar to Canvas in the way that we use the discussion board?
Yes, it's the same as Canvas, exact same way you use the discussion board in Canvas, but in that situation, you're being graded through Packback, and it's required, and it's being evaluated. There's an algorithm. Eventually, Packback will be inside Canvas. Like Zoom is inside Canvas right now. Packback will show up inside everybody's Canvas, and it was supposed to be this semester, but they haven't figured the coding and all this for this to happen all throughout the world. But it's the next thing that will be added. So right now, you have to make the effort to go to the website because it's not embedded yet. Like not very long ago, people had to go through Zoom in order to get into the class. Now a lot of people go through Canvas in order to get through Zoom. So we're still pioneer. You see, I've never been scared to be a pioneer again, because it's part of my bias of being a marketer. Is I actually have a business which slogan is pioneer in the industry. In that specific industry, and my business is known as being a pioneer. So when you're in marketing, you have a tendency to be pioneer or pioneer things, because that's how you grow. As you look at new things, you develop new things. So Packback for you will be something new, and therefore joining in is about posting. The way you go about it, I could email you some examples. Actually, that's what I'm going to do. Is I will email some examples to the class. Okay, I note to myself, and that way you can see. I get the question the first week, but never again, because people, once they've seen 4 or 5 other people doing it, then they get the picture. What's interesting is the people from Packback. They do a review every week of the posting in business and then in marketing, and the algorithm is actually evaluating the quality of the postings between classes. And it's very interesting that my class, for some reason, is very highly ranked in the USA every time as the quality of the postings. And I guess it's because students see the subject that we cover in class, and that sort of stays with them. And that's the benefit of Packback, is we talk about certain things and you receive the information, and then you go out and live your own life, and I don't see you for a week. But during that week, you read the news, you talk to some people, and suddenly you go, oh, that's like what we discussed with the professor. Oh, I heard about this. Oh, that's interesting. And then the students, they grab this thing that was connected, and then they just copy paste it inside Packback. And that becomes very organic, and then everybody just keeps doing it. Unfortunately, there are some students that don't do it. For some odd reasons, there's going to be about 5% of the students in this class that will never post and never do anything. ignoring the 10%. So like I said, there's only 5% that do that, because it's not that difficult to do, and it takes a matter of, let's say, 5 minutes, 2-3 minutes if you're really quick and prepared. It doesn't have to be an essay. It's two lines, 3 lines. You know. Any other questions?
So you said that the questions must be 3 sentences. You said 3 lines.
Yeah, short. I mean, you're not going to be losing points for making it 15 lines. But if you do 15 lines, you're doing more than you need to. The reality is, I would say that most of the posts are more like 5-8 lines. Because the reality is, people, they find a subject that they're interested and then they post it. And once they start doing it, they realize that, you know, 2 lines is too short for what they want to say. So they just write 5 lines. But you are not expected to do that much. You know, 2-3 lines, that can be sufficient. So the hardest thing is really to think about it. The second hardest thing is to stay awake of the thing that we discuss. And then after we discuss things, the subject is to still keep it with you. And then you will run into things that are connected. And then you bring it back into back. So the idea behind this is, I don't want you to be thinking that marketing is a subject that is only a subject that you need to have because it's part of the core concept in order to get your bachelor. I know it is, but it's more than this. It's something that you can use for a very long time. I have a student actually that's going to come this semester, because I asked him, I said, you know, it would be very nice. Could you just come to my class next semester? Because the students don't know. Because it was a student at the end of the semester, I have students sometimes that I recognize because they have their video on, and sometimes people I don't recognize. And they come and they say, Professor, this class was amazing. I learned this and this and this and that. And it changed my life. And I tell you why. And I'm very, grateful and blah, blah, blah. And I had no idea of this and that. And then and I get a lot of students that say that, and this is not to make me look important. It's because the subject of marketing is business, but it's something that you can use for your own sake. And that's what students sometimes discover. The benefit is not just to get a grade and move on. And I asked one of the students every semester, please, can you come and talk to the students and tell them about your own experience? So one of them is going to come. He was a student that just took the class, it's like, what's next? He's very excited, and he thinks marketing is so important. And you know what? He doesn't want to be a marketer. Even that. He actually told me he wants to become a lawyer, but he thinks that understanding marketing and being a lawyer that actually use marketing as a lawyer will make him a better lawyer. So he still wants to be a lawyer, but he says, I want to be the best lawyer I can be. And that's where I need to use marketing in order to make me a better lawyer. And I went, hallelujah, you got it. Who are the most successful dentists? You think the best dentist? No, it's the dentists that have marketed themselves the best. Who are the best lawyer? The same. The best hairdresser, the best. So, because again, people do not have a very good technique or knowledge in order to evaluate. But what they have is they remember who has treated them well, and treating customers well, that's marketing. Right. So it is very important to understand that. And so it's important that you hear other people experience in business. And so if you go to CSUN.edu right now, we could do it. I'm just making this up. You go on there and you look at, they usually have 5 most recent news. You look at the 5 news there's usually one which is an alumni. And they picked an alumni, you know, random alumni, and they post a story on this alumni. If you read this alumni, you will see that they're going to tell you that they got successful in doing X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z. One of these is marketing. Always. There's always a very important component that explains someone's successes. I mean, this person may be a music student. This person may be engineer, whatever. There's always a very important component that explains anybody's success based on the fact that they have used some marketing at some stage in order to get to that success. This, to me, I have no question about this. This is a very important element that explains people's successes. So no matter what you will want to do, a third of the reason why you succeeded would have to do with some kind of marketing that you did. And one thing that when people think about marketing is they think about sales. If you're in sales, are you in marketing? Yes. If you're in advertising, are you in marketing? Yes. If you're in social media, are you in marketing? Yes. If you're in propaganda, are you in marketing? Yes. If you're in branding, are you in marketing? Yes. If you are in public relations, are you in marketing? Yes. If you are in pricing, are you in marketing? Yes. If you are in new product, engineering, development, and all of this, are you in marketing? Yes. So it's incredible the amount of activities which are related to marketing. Why? Because at the end of the day, marketing is about growth. It's about business growth. It's about increasing your market size. It's about understanding the market. Understanding the market is, number one, understanding the customers, but number two is understanding your competitors as well. So it's very important to understand who are your competitors. What I would like you to do right now, because I don't want to get to a point where you're just falling asleep. So to make sure this does not happen, we're going to take a short little break. I see it's 5:16, so let's come back here at about 5:31, 5:32, okay? So let's do this. I'll see you back at 5:32 in just a little bit more than 15 minutes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Professor, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Where exactly can I find the syllabus? Because I've looked everywhere pretty
So
much.
the syllabus, I've emailed it to everyone, number one.
Okay.
And number two is if you, I haven't got to that, but if you go in Canvas, the I emailed it, I also mentioned in the email that one area in Canvas that I use a lot is the file folder.
Okay.
If you go in the file folder, there's one thing called syllabus, and you will see it. Otherwise, look in your email, and I've attached it too.
Okay, I found it.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was recording till the break, I guess, and then I forgot to press on the pause. So just to summarize this, is you will write on the 10 pages maximum report. So it's not that long. And since you're 5, that means you have 2 pages each to produce in 4 months. So, you know, it seems very little. The problem is, like I said, is people can't think about it just in terms of quantity. They have to think in terms of what goes inside. And the number one thing that goes inside this report is the identification of opportunities. Now, if I have to give you some statistics, so that way now you can see it's not that easy. How many, so it's going to be something like 30 groups. Of the 30 groups, how often do I have one group that finds opportunity the first month? It's rare. Out of the 30, if there is one, it's a miracle. So now what about in March? In March, I probably have maybe 3 groups that find opportunities. Why are opportunities so hard to find? Well, it's the same. It's like if I tell you today, trying to make $1 million in the next 6 months, doing something legal. You're going to tell me making $1 million in the next 6 months doing something legal is very difficult. And so it's the same thing, is coming up with an idea, an opportunity that's going to grow a business that is already existing. A2 Milk is a company that is growing right now, which means that they are not doing the wrong thing. So it's harder to find an idea to make a good company better than it's to find an idea to make a bad company better. So A2 Milk has a number of things that they're doing. I think it's very it's a good company to identify further idea for growth, but overall they are not doing bad. In some way they are not great either, because they are not one of the large companies. So then you could say, well, there's a lot of room to grow since they are considered still a small company. But what they're doing is growing very fast. So the first thing that you should do is make a group, because there's not much you can do without making a group. The second thing that you should do is, as an individual, you should start working on your own analysis of A2 Milk and start thinking about what they should do next. And then as a group, you should share what you have found. So here's the biggest problem that at least 10 groups are going to do wrong, which is that they're going to wait as long as possible to meet in order to get started. That doesn't go in your advantage. I think it's much better to do a little bit, not a lot, but many times, versus trying to get everything done the week before the project is due. So if you look again in the syllabus, you will see that in this syllabus, there is also a deadline for sending for sending a draft. So on the Monday, the 29th of March, Monday, sorry, it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. So that's a typo. On the Tuesday, the 29th of March, there is a submission of the draft. And so the objective of this draft is not to grade you, but it's to give you some feedback. So that way you know if you are in the right direction or not in the right direction. All the groups submit this draft. Is this draft voluntary? Yes. Because you're not graded, it's just to give you feedback. So if you were not to submit it, it would not hurt you. However, I think it would be not in your favor not to get some feedback. And so everyone, every semester, submits something. The only difference is there's some people that submit 9 pages, out of the 10 max. And there's some people that submit 1 page. The people that don't submit very much don't get to be reviewed for very much, and therefore there's not too much helping them when they've only started. So that's why starting early is very important. I still see 3 hands up. I just want to make sure that I've answered your questions. Joel, Ismail, and
I had a question regarding your products.
Yes.
I want to know what's the difference between like a $3,000 bottle of cognac versus like a $400. Like what's the key differences between those two?
So when you evaluate diamond, to simplify, I'm not going to give you a class on diamond, but how you evaluate the diamond is the size of the diamond. The bigger the diamond, the more expensive, but also the purity of the diamond. And then there's the color. That's just another thing, but let's keep it simple. And the purity, which means it's all shiny, is that diamond. When it comes to a cognac, it's the age of the cognac. So you could almost think about the age as being the size for the diamond. The bigger the diamond, the more expensive. So the cognac, if it's 2 years old, it's going to be in the $30 range. If it's 10 years old, it's going to be just a ballpark, right? it's going to be in the $90 to $120 range. If it's more than 15 years old, it's going to be more like 150, 250. If it's more than 20 years old, so it's the age.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So that's one thing, but that can't be just that. It's also, there are other characteristics such as if there is a year on it, a specific year, because it's cheaper. Something that says 20 years old is cheaper than something that says 2001. However, a cognac that is from 2001, the year 2001, is the same amount of year than if you say this cognac is 20 years old. But there's a difference. It's because in cognac, it is very rare. It's not impossible, but it's close to impossible to find cognacs that have a year, a certified specific year. So what's the difference between these two? Is one, you know, it's 20 years versus the other one, you know, it's 20 years and from that year where it was harvested. So it gives you an indication that it's 100% from that year. So if you're a collector, you have more value because you can say that it's 20 years old and it was from the harvest. It was from the world. Back then, there's an image of 2001. You know, there was some special climate differences, there's some emotions and people's culture and so forth. So there's that. And then there's even, these are just a ballpark. So the problem with cognac, and that's a marketing class, so I bring you some marketing concept behind it, is the value of the cognac is in the eye of the beholder. And therefore, if someone doesn't know those details, right, they may think that a piece of glass is equal to a diamond, right? I mean, a diamond is $200,000 and a piece of glass is 1 cent. How do you make someone spend $200,000 for a piece of shiny thing when you can get, look, it's very, right now, diamonds are sort of a muddy product because they make artificial diamonds. You know, you can, the big trend in the jewelry industry are artificial, natural diamonds. And artificial diamonds are even more perfect than natural diamonds. Artificial diamonds are like 3 times, 4 times, 5 times cheaper than natural diamonds. But once you have it on a ring, what difference does it make? It's 5 times cheaper. Why not? Nobody's going to know if it's real or artificial. Okay, so it's in the eye of the beholder. If people start deciding that there is only a small difference between the two, it's possible that the fake diamond will become more expensive, you know, to be more like the real, or that the real will start becoming cheaper in order to be like the fake. It's people who decide, because at the end, it's just a stone. You don't need a stone. So selling expensive cognac is the same. Therefore, it cannot be sold for everyone. And that's why, for example, I sell them in Dubai. In Dubai, if you go and travel in Dubai and you go in a car park, right? So like you're in LA and you're in a car park and you close your eyes and then you open your eyes and you go like this with your hand. And someone say, what do you see? I see a white Toyota Camry next to a Honda Accord, next to a Ford Taurus, next to a blue Toyota Camry. Now you close your eyes and you take this person and you put them in Dubai and you go like this. What do you see? I see a Ferrari next to a McLaren, next to a Lexus, next to a Bugatti, right? So then if you want to sell some $15,000 cognac, where do you go? You don't go in Los Angeles because people are not looking for this kind of things. So you go, that's why marketing is very important, is you need to go where people want you. You need to go where people are looking for what you have. So if you have the fake vanilla, it's this area. If you have the real vanilla, it's this area. So marketing is all about this. So when you sell A2 milk, you need to first educate yourself about A2 milk. And then once you're well educated about the product, you go, who wants A2 milk? Does everybody want A2 milk? Maybe not. Who wants A2 milk? Why do they want milk to milk? If we were to tweak A2 milk and add this to A2 milk, who would want it? What do people want, right? People want milk with gluten-free milk. Okay, can we make it? Yeah. People want water-free, calcium-free, vitamin-free pineapple milk. Okay, can we do that? Yeah. So then what people want almond milk. Do people want almond milk? People don't want almond milk. But you make almond milk because you're going to tell them why they want almond milk. And then they go and they wake up in the morning and they go, I'm a robot. I want almond milk because I've been told that I want almond milk because it's X, Y, and Z. They repeat. They just machine. They repeat. Do people realize that? Most people don't. Most people just hear and repeat. Okay. So did I answer your question?
Yes, very much so. Thank you so much.
What about Ariel? I think you just jumped in on another question.
Hey, Professor, I got
Yes.
one question.
Yes.
I just wanted to know, is it possible for us to have a group of 7?
Well, usually the more people, the more trouble. So, we can, I think 7, what I have to say is almost every time someone asks to be 7, they were the group that came back and said, oh, we have problems. So if you have 7, I don't want to hear about problems.
Who's the problems that
well, what can I say? It's like, imagine you have a house and you have one toilet. Now imagine you have a house and you have 50 toilets. Which house has more chance to get leaks? The one house with the 50 toilets or the house with 1 toilet?
50.
So now imagine you have a group, you have 3 people, and then you have another one, you have 7. Which one is more likely to have problems? Sorry.
I guess.
Well, we don't get to problems because I honestly, I messaged people and I didn't count myself in, and I accidentally messaged 6 people instead, including me 7, and I have to tell someone, oh, can you get out of here? I don't want to do that. But what if we don't get into problems?
It'd be a miracle.
I think I can do that.
Yeah, if you believe in miracles, you should be 7. But what I'm saying is, make sure that this group of 7, which might be the only one, come back and say we have a problem. If we do that, I don't know, let's do a bet, and it's very likely. The more, what happens is it's just human nature. If you don't believe in this, this will be your big learning in this class. Human nature is there's more people, the more they rely on someone else to do the job. If you have 2 people, it's hard to hide. It's A or B. But when you have 7, there's the chances that there's 1 person that's going to get a free ride is multiplied tremendously. And so the more people, the more free riders. 6 is not easy to manage. 7, for some reason, there's always a problem. So I'm not recommending it, but I would have warned you enough that if you do it, means that you're not worried about having bad odds. Personally, I think in life, when you have bad odds, you make things harder than they needed to be. You just made it harder.
Yeah, there's one group with 12 people in it.
12 people, I mean. Yeah. So it doesn't make any sense. I've never seen this in 25 years. Something is going on. You need to just stick to 5. 5, you'll be okay. 6, it's tough.
Professor, let me make a suggestion. For this group thing, this is completely unorganized. You're just saying, hey, make a group. in like within our 4-hour period class, can you, I would suggest maybe for next or future classes, create breakout rooms so students can go under certain, like, I guess, majors. 'Cause that's it. And that's where a lot of these students are kind of like
Yeah.
corroborating, you know? So just as a suggestion, because this is
Yeah,
complete
we'll
chaos right now.
we'll do breakout room.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what we need to do.
What problems were the groups of 7 running into besides just kind of like you were talking about, like the freeloaders? Was there anything else that the groups of 7 were running into that you can let us know about?
Well, so yeah, free riders is the number one. Not agreeing, because when you have 3 people, it's hard to agree. 4, the more people you have, the less easy it is to agree between more people. And so therefore they don't agree. They have a very hard time making meetings because everybody's busy and everybody has a different schedule. So if you have more people, there's even less chance that you can actually meet because suddenly there's more people. So yeah, I know, you know, I wish I had a video of all the students at the end of every semester that said, oh my God, we had such a hard time making meetings. Oh my God, there was always someone not coming to the meeting with the same person. And then it happens all the time. I'm just telling you, I have no conflict of interest to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
that it doesn't work. It just works less. Use my my little toilet things. The more toilets in the house, the more leaks.
Yeah, thank you.
And in fact, you know, it's funny because there's people voicing themselves for having more people. But what I have is there's some smart people. They know well. They hear me right now. They are laughing. And they're going to come and send me an email that says, hey, professor, can we be 3? Because I totally get it. The less we are, the easier we have. And can we be 3? Because it's so much easier if we're 3. And so right now we have very few people voicing for a high number, but the majority of people actually voicing for a lower number. And now the answer is very simple. Is the rule is you need to be 5, and I'll let you have 6. So it's minimum 5, maximum 6. If you do 7, it's going to be a disaster. Absolutely, you know. And it's even 5 is a challenge, but 5 is real life. 5 people to meet. You need to understand that this is my 27th year. You know, I'm not like, you know, there's a ranking in being a professor. Like you start at adjunct professor, assistant professor, associate professor, full professor, director. I have the whole thing. If this was the army, I'm a general. I've done this for a very long time. So I'm only giving you suggestions. I've never had to do the team in 27 years. I think this is, I'm over 15,000 students that I've been teaching this class. I never had to do that. So now, you know, things change and all that with Canvas, this and this. It's possible I have to do this breakout room and force, either force you or maybe give you the breakout room. So that way you make a team, a group. Making groups has never happened the first week as well, never. And even when we were in the classes and all that, we made the groups and people talk and all that. It takes a while because people have to exchange information. They have to start working together to see if people are reliable. So it's going to take us 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get the groups. There was a problem that we won't have not so much this semester, but right now I have a waiting list with 35 people trying to come in the class. So there's some people that are going to go into another class, which I don't anticipate because people don't do this as much as they used to. And there's going to be people joining the class, also looking for groups. And that usually lasts for 4 weeks. So for 4 weeks, there's people coming out and coming in and coming out and coming in. It has nothing to do with me. This is CSUN, the way it's set up. And so making groups is going to take a little while. What I suggest is if you were able to make a group today, good for you. If you are not, we're going to keep working on it. But what you need to do is check A2 Milk, go to the file in Canvas and look at the previous reports. All right? And we'll start from there.
Right, I appreciate that, Professor. I think one of the key things because I prefer to work by myself, but because working in a group, there again is so many opinions, so many thoughts, and again, time.
Oh, yeah.
And once we get to going in these classes, and especially when midterm comes, it becomes difficult to find those times when you can meet.
Of course.
And so one of the last classes that I just took, and we had to do groups, they did it in, the professor did it in days. So whoever can meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they were in a group. Whoever can meet on Wednesday, they were in a group, or, so that you can.
Yeah, but
plan
there's
out.
163 students. So,
And
I mean,
right.
if you say Tuesday, Wednesday, and all this, so it's going to take us a while to get the group done, and it's always that way. And don't worry about it. Just start working on the project, because the key is don't be a victim that once you have a group, you tell your group member, oh, I haven't done anything, and 2 weeks went by. So you need to have some kind of idea of what you're doing, but it takes a while to know exactly what you're supposed to do, properly understand the company, properly understand the industry, really understand what's an opportunity. It takes a month and a half for everyone, most of the time. So every marketing class is that way, because it's a business project. So it takes a while to know exactly what needs to be done and how it needs to be done and all of that. All right.
So, Professor.
Yes.
I was just going to say.
646.
Sorry.
Last question.
So if you have a group of 5 already, that's okay. We don't have to.
Group of 5. You're good to go.
We don't have to do breakout. Okay.
No.
Cool.
No.
All right. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Have a good evening. See you next Tuesday. And check a2milk.com.
Thank you, Professor.
Thanks, Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
Bye-bye. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes. Nice meeting everyone.